Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us. Today I'm going to talk with you about COVID-19 and the pandemic response, getting our public school children into the classroom, and the severe weather that has hit our state this week. As of today, we have had 833,423 confirmed COVID-19 cases, 3,916 new cases reported since yesterday, 1,892 people in the hospital, and sadly 10,766 people who have died. Our prayers continue to go out to those who've lost loved ones to this cruel virus. But we are encouraged to see our COVID-19 numbers declining and remaining stable. For the first time since late November, the number of people hospitalized in North Carolina due to the virus has dropped under 2,000. We're also tracking a decline in case numbers and seeing the state's percent of positive cases go lower, though both are higher than we want to see. But day by day, North Carolina is making progress, and this is good news. And we'll be examining that and other improving data as we work on the next executive order. But we still must keep our guard up, as well as our masks, especially as more schools return to in-person instruction after our encouragement to do so 16 days ago. Keeping each other safe and keeping students and teachers in the classroom is a top priority, and it's vitally important to wear masks and practice social distancing. We know that our safety measures work, even as we are seeing more contagious variants of this virus out there. These actions can keep us safe until a vaccine is more widely available. North Carolina is continuing to distribute vaccines quickly, with nearly 2 million doses already administered. And we're seeing progress on our efforts to distribute vaccines equitably. For example, last week, 23% of our allotted first doses were administered to Black North Carolinians. This is up from just 13% 5 weeks ago. I'm proud of our state's work to give the vaccine quickly and equitably, and we'll continue to expand these efforts. Due to the severe weather across the country, the Center for Disease Control, the CDC, notified states across the country, including ours, that some vaccine shipments are delayed. This news is frustrating to all of us. But providers are working to get appointments scheduled, and we're pushing to get more vaccine for our state. Here in North Carolina, we know firsthand the disruption severe weather can create, and I'll touch on that in a moment. But first, I'd like to address the disruption that so many of our students and families have felt from remote learning during this pandemic, as well as our efforts to get students back in the classroom safely. As of today, 91 of the 115 school districts have returned to in-person learning. By mid-March, 95% of our school districts plan to provide in-person instruction, and that will serve 96% of the state's students. That's a good thing, and many students are going back because we've encouraged local school systems to do so. We know that in-person learning can be held safely with proper health measures in place, and I'm joining education leaders to encourage school districts to take this step. However, it is critical that parents and teachers have confidence that their health and safety will remain a priority. I've communicated with legislative leaders that I can sign legislation requiring all school districts to return to the classroom if it requires compliance with the Department of Health and Human Services safety guidelines for schools and protects the ability of state and local leaders to respond to emergencies. The bill they just passed fails on both of these fronts. I'll continue to discuss potential new legislation with General Assembly leaders before taking action on the bill that I now have on my desk. It is critical for our students and teachers that we get this right. Now for an update on today's inclement weather. Today's ice storm brought down trees and power lines, leaving thousands in the dark, and with more ice on the way. As of 1:35 p.m., there were nearly 23,000 without power. Most of the ice concern is in the west and northern Piedmont. With rainfall expected this afternoon and evening, there's a serious threat for river flooding and flash flooding in the eastern half of the state. This is especially true at the Tar River near Greenville and the Lumber River near Lumberton. We need to take this weather seriously. Yesterday, I declared a state of emergency to allow repair crews from out of the state to quickly help communities who've lost power. And I also activated 40 members of the National Guard to assist with fallen tree and debris removal. The Department of Transportation is working to clear roads and debris, and they, along with the State Highway Patrol, ask you to please stay off the road in these icy areas. Today's icy weather and rain follows another storm this week with a deadly tornado touching down in Brunswick County late Monday night. Yesterday I visited there, and our prayers go out to those who lost loved ones or who were injured in this storm. The tornado caused significant damage, even demolishing some homes. And I heard harrowing stories from survivors who were glad to be alive. The state will marshal all available resources to help people recover. Right now, emergency management is assessing the damages to determine what kind of additional assistance may be available. Also, people in southeastern North Carolina, particularly along the coast, should be on the lookout for more potential severe weather later today. Director Sprayberry will address that in just a minute. But first, I want to thank our first responders, emergency managers, law enforcement, utility workers, and others across the state who keep us safe. They've worked tirelessly and fearlessly to help get people to safety, and already they've begun repairing the damage. I am grateful for their resilience. As we face the aftermath of a tornado and winter storms across the country, on top of a pandemic, many of us may be feeling worn down. Our state has experienced a lot of challenges. But one thing I know, North Carolinians are resilient. When we get knocked down, we get back up. And I know that if we continue to work together and keep each other safe, we'll get through this. And we'll build back stronger than we were before. Also with me today is our Secretary of Public Safety, Eric Hooks. As I mentioned, our Director of Emergency Management, Mike Sprayberry, is with us today. Dr. Cohen is not with us today, but we have with us Deputy Secretary of Health and Human Services, Cody Kensley, and Deputy Secretary of North Carolina Medicaid, Dave Richard. Our sign language interpreters are Monica McGee and Cameron Larson. And behind the scenes, Jackie and Jasmine Mativier are our Spanish language interpreters. I'll now recognize Director Sprayberry for a few remarks. Mike?
Thank you, Governor.